Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my home birth story. My baby girl was born right here in this very room, right where I'm sitting, and it was the most amazing experience ever. And today I'm going to share it with you guys. I even have the actual footage of when she was born, which I'll be inserting at the end of the video. So if you would like to know how baby girl was born, what happened, how I knew I was in labor, leading up to that, the birth, all that fun stuff, then keep on watching. Okay, so my daughter was born April 30th, 2018. So I had gotten to my due date. My due date was April 29th, and I was still pregnant. Baby girl wasn't here yet, nothing like that. So, which that's fine. I know it's totally normal. Off and on for the past couple days or so, I had been having contractions, and I didn't really pay too much attention to them because they were kind of off and on, nothing serious. I would have like, 30-45 minutes of consistent, strong contractions, and then nothing. They would go away. So it was just on and off like that for a couple days. So I wasn't really paying any attention to it. And the contractions mainly came at night. Off and on, like I said, sometimes I could sleep through them. Sometimes it would wake me up, but it was still, again, nothing serious. So I started feeling a little bit more intense contractions. I didn't even get up to look what time it was. I just know it was early in the morning. Like, I don't even know, probably 3-4 a.m. So around that time I started having contractions, but again, they were enough to wake me up, so they were decently strong, but then in between I would just go back to sleep. Then around 5 a.m.-ish, then they start to get a little bit more consistent, I guess I would say. I was noticing that they were closer together, so I'm like, okay, let me start timing them. I didn't even wake up my husband. Like, Nick was still perfectly asleep. He didn't even know what was going on. So I just got my phone. I already had the little app, so I just started tracking them. So around 5 a.m., they were about 40 to 50 seconds long, but they were sporadic. So they would last, 30 seconds but be 2 minutes apart, and then they would last 50 seconds and be 5 minutes apart. So they were very all over the place. They were still trying to regulate. So I know that that's very normal. At that point I started to think, okay, I'm probably in early labor. In my head I'm like, you know what, she's if I am in labor, she's probably still not going to be born until later on, way later on in the day. About 5:45 a.m. they started to get a little bit more intense. Nick was getting up for work, so he's like, so what should I do? Should I go to work? Should I not? Like, he obviously doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know how fast or slow anything's gonna happen. So I was so like sure that this was nothing, that this was only the very beginning, and I didn't want him basically to be home for nothing, where he could just go to work and come after work, or worst case leave work a little early. So I'm like, no, you're fine, just go to work. So at like probably 6:15, I sent a screenshot of the app where I had been tracking all of my contractions. I sent it to my midwife, and I'm like, this is where we're at, this is our progress. So she kind of was like, okay, well, how do you feel? What's going on? Make sure you eat, make sure you stay hydrated, everything's still trying to fall in line, just keep me updated. She wasn't at all like, okay, I'm coming. She wasn't at all worried or anything. So Nick is still home. He's dressed, but he's still here. And he's like, okay, so what do you want me to do? Do you want me to go to work? Do you want me to stay with you? Like, you tell me. So I was like, no, it's fine. Go to work. If anything, I'll call you. You leave early, come home early. So he ends up going to work. And then, so I'm just kind of chilling at the house. I went downstairs, I drank some water. I started, walking around a little bit. And it was when I got up and out of bed and started being active, they started getting a little bit more intense. I'm still tracking, and I'm like, this is progressing pretty fast here. So I called him back. It had only been like maybe 10 minutes. So I called him back. So I'm like, babe, you may want to come back home because she's coming. We're getting there. Contractions are getting a little bit stronger. Contractions are coming closer together. They're starting to regulate a little bit more. So he just cracks the U-turn, comes right back home. He was only like 10 minutes away, so he was back in 20 minutes. I don't know why I'm so vain, but I'm like, let me wash my hair. Right, like, I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm in the shower, and as I'm in the shower, the hot water, I feel like the hot water made the contractions come a little stronger because, girl, I was feeling them in the shower. So he came back home while I was still finishing my shower. And then I remember he was like, so do you want me to call your parents? And I'm like, oh my God, like that didn't even cross my mind. I'm like, yeah, call my mom, call my mom. So he calls my mom, but the funny thing is right before this, probably a week or so ish before, she did something with her phone that it deleted all her contacts. So she never saved Nick's phone number again. So Nick has a North Carolina area code, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and so she answered it, but I guess she didn't understand what Nick was saying. But then, you know, my mom tells me later, she's like, I didn't know who it was. I just know it was a man. He said something about Shirley. So then my dad gets on the phone and obviously figures out what's going on. I had just finished getting dressed from the shower. My hair is soaking wet, and you know, that was a terrible idea. Like, I'm gonna sit here and do my hair. Like, ladies, don't wash your hair when you're in labor. You're not gonna end up doing your hair. It's gonna look terrible. Trust on that one. So when my parents came over, Nick and my dad, they start filling up the pool. So I had a birth pool that I bought, and we had it actually set up right here. At this point, I'm okay. Like, I'm walking around, I'm fine in between contractions. Now granted, remember, I'm having contractions every 2 minutes ish. Like, they're pretty close together. I had already told my midwife. I called her again about 7 o'clock. I called her and I was like, okay, this is how close together they are. This is how long they're lasting. And she's like, I remember all she said back to me was, I'm on my way. So even she was like a little surprised that everything just started progressing so quickly. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. She said she'll be here by 8, which I'm like, okay, no big deal. You know, I'll totally be fine. So I'm just kind of breathing out my contractions. I'm able to talk in between them. I can kind of talk through them, but it was still getting a little bit harder. So my midwife gets here about probably 8 a.m., maybe right after 8. And then so I was in between contractions, so I'm talking to her perfectly fine. And I remember, like, I'm mid-sentence and I'm like, and I remember I was leaning over my bed and I just had my head down. I closed my eyes and I'm just like, you know, like I'm breathing them out. I'm still very relaxed, but she could tell that I was definitely having what she said was a pretty intense contraction. I didn't personally feel it super intense, but the reason for that too was I obviously am having a home birth, which means I'm not going to get any pain medication. I know that I have to ride this all out, all this pain that I'm gonna feel. I have to be prepared for it, you know? I guess I was kind of hyping myself up and preparing for it, because I remember in my head, all I kept saying is, okay, I feel this. I feel this. It doesn't hurt, but I feel it. That's how I would play it in my head when I would have a contraction. And they would ask me, okay, well, you know, 1 to 10 type scale or things like that. I'm like, I feel it, you know? It's an intense feeling. But I never really once said it hurts or it's pain. And the reason for that was because I'm like, all right, if I feel this, it's gonna be worse. So I can't say this hurts. I can't say this is really bad. Or I can't say, oh my God, this hurts, I can't do this. Like, no, I know it's going to get worse. So I need to be able to handle this. So in my head, that's how I kept writing out my contractions. So I would know they would progressively get stronger and stronger, but it's gonna get worse. So this can't be as bad as the next. When my midwife got here, after that contraction, after I finished that contraction, okay, you know, hey, how are you, Jess? You know, I start talking to her like nothing, like if I'm literally not in labor. She's like, okay, well, that was kind of an intense one, so let's go ahead and check you, see how far dilated you are, all that fun stuff. So I laid on the bed and she checks me and she's like, well, you're 9.5 centimeters. So yeah, let's have this baby. Let's go ahead and get in the water and, you know, get things going. I'm like, who? Me? I'm 9.5 centimeters? Like, there's no way. Like, I really was expecting her to come in and tell me, okay, we're like 4 or 5, you know, because in my head, that's where I was. Like, on a scale of what I thought was going to be the worst to where I am now, I was like a 4 or 5. So then we end up, you know, I got in the pool and I just remember during each contraction, I kept telling myself, I feel this. Once they were getting a little bit more intense, I started concentrating on all these positive birth affirmations I kept telling myself, like, I can do this, you know, I'm gonna have my baby. My body was made for this. My body was made to have this baby. I don't know how to have this baby, but my body knows how to have this baby. Like, I 1000% wholeheartedly trusted my body to be able to birth my child. Like, I had never done this. She's my first baby. I had no idea what I was doing, but I trusted my body that my body knew what she was doing. Definitely one thing about having a home birth is you have to be confident in yourself, in your body, and your relationship with your body. You have to know your body and what you can do. That's what you were literally born to do. As a woman, you are born to reproduce. You are born to birth a child. So I would say I got in the pool about 8:30-ish. That's when my midwife said I went into active labor. My contractions were a lot stronger. My contractions were a lot closer together. So I was in active labor about 8:30. I wasn't pushing just yet, but I could feel her very, very low. The best way to describe the feeling of your child moving down the birth canal is you literally feel like you're gonna put, you know, that pressure, that very intense pressure that you feel all down there. That's exactly what it feels like. So at this point, it had been probably 45 minutes. Then we start feeling some action. I actually broke my own water. So as I'm in the pool and I feel the pressure, I feel her coming down, I'm reaching down and I'm feeling, I wanted to feel her head, and I still don't feel her head, but I feel like a film. And as I'm pushing and as I know she's coming out more and more, I feel like it starts to bulge out. I know that's not her head yet because I can push it and it's kind of like gooey, I guess you can say, like a water balloon. I'm in the water, but I can feel like a water balloon. So I know it's not her. In each contraction, it would kind of contract, literally. It would kind of contract and like kind of balloon out. And then when the contraction was over, it would kind of like suck back in a little bit. It wouldn't go all the way back in, but just a little bit. In one of the contractions where it pushed out, I was feeling and I felt when it ruptured, and I felt like the water gush. Even though I'm in the water, I felt the water gush, and that actually relieved a little bit of the pressure. Then in the very next contraction after that, I feel like her head is right there. Like, I'm talking right there. Like, I put my finger in maybe this much and I feel her hair. So in that next contraction, her head comes out, like the whole head. And I remember I'm looking down and I feel and I see her head and I feel her little ears, and oh my God, she had so much hair. And I just know, I'm like, oh my God, this is my baby. I'm having my baby. Like, the whole time, I obviously, like, I know I'm in labor. I know I'm gonna have my baby. I know there's a baby in my stomach. I know I'm gonna have a baby. But the moment that her head popped out and I felt it, and I felt her hair and I felt her ears, like, that's really when it just became so real to me. Like, I'm having a baby, like, which is so crazy, right? Like, 9 months pregnant, and that's when I realized I'm having a baby. So in between those two contractions, she rotates, so the head comes out one direction, and then the whole body has to rotate so the shoulders can come out. So I feel her churning, and this is the part you'll see in the clip that I'll insert. Then I feel her shoulders churning. So this is between contractions. So I just feel it, like, it's so crazy. Like, I literally feel everything inside of me churn. And then when that next contraction comes out, her whole body came out. Like, I didn't have to push, I didn't have to do anything. When that contraction started, I automatically felt her start coming out. And I remember when she came out, I just grabbed her and she was still in the water. I didn't lift her up out of the water right away. I remember I just kind of looked at her for a second, like, my baby, oh my God, I just had my baby. And then when we lifted her out of the water, I put her on my chest right away. Like, Nick was holding me the whole time when I was having the really intense contractions, those last ones. And then I remember he just kind of came back around behind me and he was looking at her and he was playing with her little hand. And that was the cutest, like, the sweetest thing. And I remember I just looked back at him for 1 second. Like, it was crazy. Like, we just had a baby. We just made a baby. And then, I sat there for a little bit with her, and, we instantly did skin to skin. My placenta kind of had split a little bit, so it took 2 contractions for my placenta to come out. So after about 15 minutes of being in the water, then my midwife's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and get out of the pool. And that's when they gave her to Nick. Nick was able to hold her for the first time, and it was so cute. Like, this little tiny little bundle, and he's a big guy, so she just looked even smaller in his arms. We did do delayed cord clamping, which that I 1000% recommend. So then my midwife was helping me out of the pool. So I just kind of stood up, they dried my legs off, they dried me off a little bit. I took my top off, and then I laid in the bed. Nick gave me back the baby, and she instantly latched. Like, she instantly started breastfeeding. My midwives, are checking me, making sure I'm okay. And I had 0 tears, 0 rips, no stitches. Like, she came out perfectly. We had our little time, our bonding. And then, after things calmed down a little bit, that's when my midwife took her and she did, you know, she weighed her. She weighed 7 pounds 9 ounces. She gave her back to me. We wrapped her up. We put her first little tiny diaper on. So the best part about all of this is that I'm literally in my bed. Like, I just had a baby. I'm in my own bed. I don't have to be in a nasty hospital yucky room, and I have my baby right here next to me, you know. So then at that point, after everything kind of calmed down, it had been like an hour or two later, I was tired. Like, it hit me, girl. Having a baby is exhausting. Nick and my family, they all took the baby downstairs, and Lord, I don't even know what they did. They're watching TV, they ate, who knows, but I took a nap, and it was the best nap of my life. That's one of the perks of having a home birth, is I'm home, and I definitely plan on continuing to do home births. I'm gonna insert the clip right after this. And disclaimer on the video, you will see blood. You won't see anything crazy, but you will see blood.
Okay. You got a contraction?
No, she's just moving.
Yeah, let her move. Let her move.
She's moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let her do her thing. You're in trouble. Almost. One more. One more. Get her way out, okay? You got it.
Okay. She's moving.
Okay.
She's coming.
So that was my home birth story. I'm so happy to be able to share this with you, and I really hope you like it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave me a comment down below. All right, toodles.